Hello, this is Amiibon Akhtar with Healing Foam Massage Therapy, and my friend here, Tilly, with Frog and Willow Massage Therapy. She's kind enough to help us out today with my video on the basics of lymphatic massage. Now, there are some more advanced techniques like the J-stroke, but I think that other massage therapists can just jump right into it without knowing that. And personally, I don't have the patience for it. So I just like to go right in. And this is how I like to generally start. My clients are gonna be face up. I tend to spend about 60 minutes. However, I think for a first time session, it'd be good to have a 75-minute because it sometimes just takes a while to drain everything, all the waste that's been built up. But in subsequent sessions, you can do it quicker or focus on areas since you know the client's body at that point and you've had an initial draining of the waste that was built up. So the first spot I like to start is with the neck. I flush this out and then I work up. You start at the base, the important spot, then you pull everything towards it, you go up a little bit, you pull, you go up a little bit, you pull, and then drain, pull, down, and then drain. So it looks something like this. Bring the drape to about clavicle level, up to about there. Then where the clavicles meet, you push down very gently because the lymph is on the surface. If you push too hard, you're working on stuff that you don't want to be working on, like muscles, blood vessels, any of that stuff. Another thing you could do is work with the client's breath and start breathing with them. Gently gliding on the skin. You pick a spot, you settle down in it, and then you push forward or to the left or to the right. Now I'm draining everything towards the clavicles right here. So I'm pushing everything that way, right under the clavicle right there. Now I generally do things from both sides. I'll match and mirror what I'm doing on the right side with the left side. But for the purposes of this video, I'll show everyone just on one side. And I generally don't use any oil for this. I find it creates too much of a slide and I can't move the surface of the skin as well. So once again, I started down there, down at the base, near the neck and clavicle area. And then I slowly went up, pushed everything down, slowly went up, pushed everything down. And then I do kind of a flush. Pull everything down. Then I work towards just about the end of the ear here. That's where a lot of the lymphatic vessels meet, is from the center of the neck all the way up laterally to the outside to behind the ears. I'll do kind of a circular motion here. And then I begin to pull everything from the face down to the the ear lymphatic nodes. Once again, I'd be doing everything on both sides because you only have a limited amount of time and you want to get through as much of the body as possible. Don't be afraid about like moving the lips or making their face look any like weird or anything. It generally tends to feel really good. And as long as you're moving slow, it'll help drain all the waste out as well. So right here I'm using a full hand. I'm just placing on the top of her eyebrows, and then I'm placing another full hand under her cheeks, under her cheekbones right there, and then I'm pulling downwards. And I'm letting gravity do all of the work here. I'm not pressing with my hands. I'm just kind of leaning forward, feeling the skin, feeling the liquid underneath, the water, and I'm pulling those towards the nose. Pulling those towards the nose. All that water. Getting drained out. Outside of the ears, and then I grab right here with my hand. I place my fingertips on the side of the neck, and then I push downwards. I pull downwards very gently, feeling the skin, feeling the water, feeling the lymph moving down. Very slow movements. Now, once you get done with the neck, you can either move to the chest or move to the arms. When I work on the chest, I scoot the drape down to just where I could see the upper portion of the chest bones, the first 2-3 ribs. And then what you can do is you can put your fingers right under the clavicle and the first few ribs. So your fingers are pointing, your right hand, if it's on the right chest, are pointing towards the sternum. Then you place your fingers down, you place your other hand on top, and then you jiggle and you ring and you move to the right shoulder, to the right side. You go very slowly. And what I'm doing is I'm like doing very subtle waves because we don't want to drag the skin, but we also want to push everything to the side. And this allows me to stay with contact on the body while it's also moving to the right. I'm using my left palm here as another tool to move the lymph to the outside border, to the axillary or under the armpit. And I do this anywhere from 2 to 3 times. When you want to go back, leave one hand there and place your fingers back in the middle by the sternum. Then place your hand on top, so everything feels like one continuous movement. Ask yourself, how far does the skin let me go? How do I move with the skin? How fast does it want me to move? You can always ask the client, am I moving too fast?
Feels great.
Good. Then once you get done with the chest, you move on to the arm. I scrunch up the drape up to here, Pull this down and then do a little tuck with my fingers pointed down. Do a little tuck right here. Now, at this point, I'll bring the arm up. You can either work from right here and push everything into there, push the lymph into the side, drain these axillary lymph nodes out, or you could bring the arm up like so. Some people can do this, some people can't. If their arm tends to come down, you can ask them, is it okay for your arm to rest on me?
Yes.
Awesome. So then you can place one hand on the table. I generally like to use like a soft fist to keep my wrist straight. And then you could move the lymph right here. This is another one of the important areas. Other than the neck, the axillary area is one with the most lymph nodes, second most important. Third most important is the inguinal nodes around your hip, around your pelvic area, but we'll get to that in a little bit. If you're going slow and you're taking your time, you could feel the little nodes, the little bumps, and you can work around them, pushing everything inside, gliding everything towards them, and then pushing them in a little bit, tapping them just to like drain them out. So I'm like going like this, bringing my fingers out and together kind of, but very subtly. I'm exaggerating it a little bit. So like, once you get the armpit taken care of, to work on the arm, I just kind of pull everything towards the armpit area to the axillary. Move my body back and forth. It's kind of like you're cleaning the countertop. You work every little bit, every little crevice of the counter. Make sure everything gets cleaned out. Scrubbing all the dirt away. Now I'm going faster for the purposes of this video, but you could spend as much time here as you could possibly want. You could just sit here and hold and use your body weight to push towards the client, push towards the axillary nodes. You just don't want to get caught up doing one arm or one area for too long. When I first started doing this, just because I was trying to feel everything out, I would spend way too much time on the arms or on the neck, and I'd barely have any time for the belly or the legs. But as long as you keep practicing, you'll get the flow of it and it'll go a lot faster. You can always take a little seat. Another thing I like to do is drain the inside of the forearm. This little crevice right here. Very gentle circles. You could flush the rest of this back down. And then begin working on the forearm. The skin on top, realizing that it can help the lymphatic nodes underneath. My strokes progressively get longer. Start off with shorter strokes, and then I get longer and longer. There's a lot of lymphatic vessels in the hand too. They're like spread out in circles and lots of different webs. So you could just do a little circle in here, start at the wrist, pushing up a little bit. Move all that waist around. Generally for the hands, I go a lot quicker unless they have like a surgery or some swelling or buildup there, then I spend a little more time around it. But Tilly doesn't have any of that right now, so we're just gonna do a quick waist disposal here. Don't forget the underside, the top of the forearm right there. Don't forget to work all this stuff and push that down. Then once you're done with that, squeeze everything up like a toothpaste. Another circle here. And squeeze it up like toothpaste. Tuck the arm back in, and you're ready for belly work. Now, since I do my my lymphatic work face up, what you can do, until they actually taught me this, but you can ask the client to put a breast drape on themselves before they hop on the table, and that way you could just lift up the drape. Otherwise, another technique you can do is you could put the towel on, make sure to secure it as you pull the drape down. Voila. And then you can pull this up, boom, 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 tuck it nice and neat. Now you have all the belly to work with. Now the belly, I like to start on the left lower side to drain the intestines first, the large intestine and the bladder. So I'll work down here first, and you can always ask the client and or tell them like, hey, if anything feels uncomfortable, let me know, but I'm gonna be working to flush your lower belly first and flush your digestive system. Now I do circular motions, but since there's a lot of skin, fat, other tissues on top of the organs, what I'll do is I'll put a finger on top, and then I'll brace with my other arm, with my other hand on top of these fingers to add slightly more pressure and go deeper. I allow their breath to let me in. I'm never cranking on it, trying to go as deep as possible. I'm taking my time and sinking in. Feeling little bumps here that I like focus on. I do circles around the bumps. Those are areas that I notice are more condensed with lymph or waste, and I try to move the stuff around. Get it to flow a little better and heal a little better. I'm working up the large intestine, pushing everything down. Once you get to the top of the descending colon and you're working with the transverse colon, I start in the middle and I push this way towards the left side laterally. You could still do small circles, you could do a little left and right, you could do like a figure 8, you could do counter figure 8, you could do all that stuff. Again, a little bit of the liver in there. And I start working on the ascending colon. Over here, I'll do a little like semicircle, quarter circle up towards the transverse. And then as I'm going down, I'm working up, pushing stuff up. You can even use the broad edge of your hand as another pulley. Get the whole ascending colon worked at the same time. Get a little bit of the appendix in there. Tends to cause a lot of problems in many people, so I like to spend a little time there, make sure it gets a little love and attention. And then I start to work on the small intestine, right in the center there. Now another thing to notice is if there's any cold spots on the body. If you're working on them, obviously your hand's gonna heat up, and when you land on something and it feels colder, that's a good indicator of places to spend a little more time in, to provide more heat. Get blood flowing there, get it to regulate itself. We're always here to help the client heal themselves, balance themselves, not to heal for them. We're not trying to fix anything. We're just bringing awareness. Pushing the small intestine, waist, that way, kind of diagonally towards the ascending colon. As I work up, diagonally towards the stomach. Stomach is a little bit under the ribs here. So another thing I'll do is I'll put my fingers under the ribs, and then I'll place a hand on top of the ribs and push the stomach into my other fingers on the bottom. If you hear noises, that's a good thing. That means they're parasympathetic and they're helping with the healing process. And then once again, last thing I'll do is I'll push everything, kind of the reverse of what we did. Pushing everything diagonally towards the appendix, pushing everything up. It's a good reason why we flush everything the opposite direction first. We start from last to first because it's already drained, and now we can push all the new stuff through and help that get drained. There's nothing clogging its way out. You can do a couple other cool things like work on the side of the body, all the lymph vessels from the backside come through here and go to the center. Everything from the belly button up drains up towards the center. The right arm has its own lymph vessels. Everything right there goes to this area, to this axillary. However, everything from the head and neck and left arm all go to the left axillary. Everything from the belly button down goes to the inguinal nodes. That little V shape that we get from our pelvic bone goes to the inguinal nodes. So we're carefully pushing the lymph to the inguinal nodes. Once again, you can ask the client if anything gets, or tell the client if anything gets uncomfortable to let us know. It's meant to be a safe space, and work with them. Now, I found the best way to get either the lymph, or maybe you're working like the muscle underneath the iliacus, is to do it from the opposite end. This allows us to provide more force and let our body lean into it, let the weight push the lymph to where it needs to go, to those inguinal nodes. If I want to go to that side, I'll put like a finger right here, so I'm never losing contact with the client. And then I'll just twirl to the other side. Place my palm right there in the crevice and push everything up. Now, before you work on the inguinal nodes, before you push everything from the belly button down, it's generally a good idea to drain the inguinal nodes first, do little circles on top, and then push everything towards the inguinal nodes after it's been drained. Putting a hand there, not losing contact with the client. Noticing a little bit of coldness right here, so what I'll do is I'll spend a little extra time on it. And then I redrape. Tuck them in. I like tucking people in. Let's see. Now to work on the leg. Let's do a little another tuck right there. And leave your arm right there. I'm just pushing everything up towards those inguinals, flushing them out first. I'm like going like this with the pelvic bone. This is the pelvic bone right here. I'm pushing the lymph inside of it. The leg is a lot easier than the rest of the body. It goes a lot quicker. So you don't have to worry too much about spending time here unless someone specifically wants work done on their legs. Then obviously you have to manage your timing for that. So once again, I'm starting up here. I flush this out. I slowly move down just like an inch or two. I push everything up. Then I go down an inch or two. Push everything up. Go down an inch or two. Push everything up. In all corners of the leg. Position your hand however you like. Sometimes it's nice to do a little squeezy. Grab the leg like this and then pull out. Loosens up the waist. Once you loosen up the waist, you could do the push towards the inguinals. The knees cause problems on a lot of people. So I'll work on the top just a little bit, very light pressure. Move it around left and right, let it bounce between my palms. At the top of them, compress just a teensy bit. And then I'll glide my fingers under. And I'll work the lymph nodes under the knees. Another really important spot. When we get to the feet, you can pull up and down. Pull up on the heel towards the calves, and then you could pull them up towards the front of the leg to the superior portion, supine. Anterior part. On the bottom side of the feet, I'm just going like this. Taking pushing everything towards the top. Pushing everything towards the top, and then I pull up. And I push everything to the anterior part. And then like you're squeezing toothpaste. And then finally, you work on the inguinal node again. Now Tilly, she just got her toe recently, so she has a little bit of swelling on her foot right here. The top part hurts the most. In cases like this, to help the client who has had a recent injury, don't work directly on it. Work below it. Push everything up. Imagine like I did the full leg right here. You work around it. See this bruising? I'll push everything out of its way to create room for it to flush out and heal faster. But I'm not applying any pressure on top of the bruise or on the area that got hurt, just around it. This only happened a few days ago, but we're gonna do everything we can to help it heal as fast as possible. Get her to her flow state.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
thank you for watching. If you learned anything new, hit me up with that subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.